Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to July 5th council meeting. If you have a cell phone, please turn it off, and we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We'll start with a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Barnes.
Here.
Reed. Brown.
Here.
Decker. Kraus.
Here.
French.
Here.
And Mayor Domingo.
Here. Thank you. Mayor and council members' comments. Are there any comments this evening? Yes, Maurice?
I'd like to make the council and the public aware. I have a criminal case in circuit court in Battle Creek that's set for a jury trial July 12th, Wednesday, through July 15th, Friday. I'm asking for your prayers and your support. I'm truly an innocent man, falsely accused, and I want the public to know that I want to be transparent in this situation. Also, I'd like to thank Hawkins, our contractor, for doing our larger grass sites. They were in Precinct 1 this week, and I was just amazed at the length they went to really clean up. I mean, they were raking the grass, they were trimming certain areas at a level that were legally allowed by our ordinance, and I really hope to have them in the future. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Andy?
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to announce that Build Albion Fellows are again hosting, along with the Recreation Department, summer basketball tournament to be held on August 6th. We're currently working on flyers. There'll be basically 4 age groups, including an adult group, 19 plus, 15 to 18, 11 to 14, 8 to 11. And then we'll have a Young Ballers program in the morning. So that's August 6th. Young Ballers starts at 9, goes to 10:30, and then the 4 different age group tournaments will start immediately following. So be on the lookout for flyers that are going to be distributed hopefully next week. Registration forms will be available as before, I hope at City Hall, but at the Rec Department, down at the community school, and at the library. Thanks.
Anyone else? If not, moving on, we'll go on to the public hearing. The public hearing is on the vacancy of the alleys of Block 52. The public hearing is now open. City staff shall next present its prepared reports, or if any.
There is not a prepared report, but Mayor and Council, this is in relationship to the Albion Hotel project, and this is for the vacating of those alleyways so that they can be combined and the entire project become a single parcel.
Okay. Any further from the council? If not, the public shall offer comments. Are there any comments on the alleyways in Block 52 from the citizens? If there is, step forward with your name and address. See none. The public hearing is closed. Therefore, the council shall debate and decide the public issue. The only issue I have is why did this take so long after we've gone through everything else with that property?
It was really just a matter of timing. Some of it was on the part of the developer, and they had asked for a delay until they had some certain things in place, and it was just a matter of coordinating between our assessor and our attorney and the developer and getting all the details correct.
Okay, so once this is all done, this is going to be one site, one address.
Correct.
Okay. Any further? If not, that's the end of the public hearing. And we'll go on to presentations from Carla Fallis. CEO of the Region 3B Area Agency of Aging. Hi.
I needed to grab my water I left out there. Thank you, Mayor Domingo, councilmans. I do have a handout. I'm not sure what you were provided. So I'll give you a little background. Need one more? Sorry. Mayor, did you get one? I need more than I'll give you a little bit of background just to kind of give you a sense for those that are not super familiar. And City Manager Mitchell, we've not had an opportunity to meet, but I hope we get to have a conversation in the future. So some of this might be a little bit for your benefit as well. But the Area Agency on Aging was created by the Older Americans Act, long time ago, and it that act determines or sets forth what our role is as an area agency on aging. And how the process works is the federal government created the public act that created area agencies on aging. And the funds go from the federal, and they have to go through a state unit on aging. And then in most states, there's some version of an act. In our state, it's called the Older Michiganians Act. I say it's the only place we're called Michiganians instead of Michiganders. But that act then creates local entities such as mine. And we are basically sanctioned or designated to serve a specific service area. And for our service area, that's Berry, Calhoun counties. There's 16 area agencies on aging in the state of Michigan, so we were one of those. And then as part of that, the process, area agencies on aging are required to do needs assessments, and they are required to determine, based on feedback from the public, of how to utilize the dollars that we receive, the federal and state dollars that we received. And a lot of people say that. We're held to that, and I'll give you an example. When we develop our plan, which I'm going to talk to you about what our current plan as it now exists is developed, we have to take that before a state commission on aging, and those are appointed officials at the state level. If there's something that is in our community needs assessment and it's a need, let's say, for example, chore services in Calhoun County has been in our needs assessment for ever, and we could not find a provider for chore services. Every single year when I went before the state commission, they said, where's your chore services in Calhoun County? And so they hold us to those community needs assessment. And so several years ago, as we were developing our plans, we have a requirement that we have to bring our plan before our county commissions in both counties. And as we were working through some projects, and I think Mayor Domingo, this is when we first met, we were working through some things and realizing that we really don't get enough input from other units of government that we serve, City of Battle Creek, Albion, other areas. And so we started a process where I come before you and give you some information on our plan and an opportunity to ask questions and provide feedback. Although we don't count this as our official, I can't check the box, I do this every time we do at least a 3-year plan, because I don't think it's appropriate we submit a plan that we don't seek input from all of our elected officials in the region. So that's why I do it. You don't have to take any action on supporting the plan. My county commissions, they have an option. They can approve, they cannot say anything. And up until last year, they couldn't disapprove. Now they can actually disapprove the plan. No one knows what happens when that happens, if the world stops or what, but they can actually not accept our plan. So the handout that I gave you is basically one we used in our public hearing, and it just kind of goes over some of the things. An area agency on aging is designed, our first act is to advocate on behalf of older adults in our community. We administer both federal, state, and local dollars in our community. And then I mentioned that needs assessment, we're required to do a needs assessment, and then we develop a plan. How are you going to meet the needs? And that's part of what this process is. And then we fund services. And so that's kind of what I'm here to talk to you about today. So in this, there's just some basic information that we received from our community needs assessment. We did something we've never done before. We hired an epidemiologist, or former epidemiologist, who looks at the world through a different set of lenses than we do, and she helped us with some of the population information. And so you have that in the first, about the first 10 pages of the PowerPoint that I gave you. So what I want to kind of direct your attention to is page 11 of what I gave you. Every year, every 10 years, the state develops goals. Those are listed in that top slide. They basically have to do with recognizing the value of older adults, working with older adults to help them identify where, how they would best like to live in their community with services, providing opportunities for physical, emotional well-being within their community, public and private partnerships, which we have a number of those, and then advocacy and training related to elder abuse. That's one of our key areas, and then continuous quality improvement. So that's sort of the inward focused goal. And so if you go down to the next slide, that's our agency goals as an entity. We are a private nonprofit. Even though we're designated as an area agency on aging, they're actually not our largest funding source. Our largest funding source is the My Choice Waiver Program. It brings in a significant amount of money, but it does not define us. That's what I always tell folks. We're defined by our area agency on aging. So if you go to the next page, this is really to us where the meat of it is. What are we going to do? If you said to me, what are you going to do for the next 3 years? The top slide sort of tells you what we're going to do. We're going to run programs and support programs and fund things that promote health and wellness, support older adults in remaining as independent as possible. We want to be able to have older adults that have a choice and that it's directed by them, not by an outside entity, and that our agency as a whole is a quality organization. We do services 3 different ways. The bottom slide shows you the services that we do directly. And I'm going to not discuss those except for one, which is the senior center staffing, because that's the one is most pertinent in Albion. Thank you, Carol, for being here today. I want to think she came just for me, but I don't think she did. Carol is the board chair for the Forks Senior Center. Over the last 2 to 3 years, we've been working with the Forks Senior Center because, quite honestly, as most of you know, we can't have a consistent presence over here and do it very well. We don't have the money, we don't have the resources, and so we're often trying to do that from afar, which isn't the best way to do it. Technology and older adults don't always blend. Some of them don't like it very much. And many older adults would much prefer look at your face than call you on the phone, and we know that. And so we've been trying for a very long time to determine a way that we can best meet the needs of older adults in Albion. One of those is ensuring that focal points in the community, like the Forks Senior Center, are sustainable. And so we have been working for, I think, 3 years now on that and how we might be able to help. And an opportunity came up this year that we could help in a very tangible way, and that was by providing an executive director to the Forks Senior Center. And so we have a staff person, Luann Summers, which some of you know and have met. Luann is very engaged with older adults. She's been very supportive of Albion. She's usually the person who I've had interact in the Albion community. She's a former foster grandparent director, and so she loves older adults. And so we were able to come up with a way that Luann could serve as the executive director of the Forks Senior Center with support from the Calhoun County Senior Millage and ourselves. And so that's why you see Senior Center staffing as a direct service. We're not running the Forks Senior Center. The board is running the Forks Senior Center. What we're providing through a management agreement is an executive director for the next 2 years. And if you have not yet had the opportunity to meet Luann, please do that. Stop into the center. And so that is one of the ways that we identify a local need and then determine how we can best meet that need. So those are direct services that we provide. On the next page, it describes all the services that we fund, meaning we give grants. We give grants to organizations to provide these services, and so those are listed for you. And then the other few pages really just list how are we going to accomplish those goals that I listed at the beginning. And so I wanted to provide that to you. The other way that we do services is through partnerships. On page 16, there's a number of partnerships that we have listed. These have a regional focus many times, but some of them are specific to Albion. We've been working really hard with getting more evidence-based programs here in Albion. having different people trained so that the programs are delivered in Albion by people from Albion, and that's really important from a prevention standpoint. Senior Project Fresh, we've partnered a couple times within Albion to make sure that that program gets off the ground. That's a program that provides $20 worth of vouchers for farmers markets. So that older adults can purchase fresh fruits and vegetables. And you know, in typical Albion fashion, I have to just comment on this. We had one of our market masters we had difficult times sometimes with redemption rate in Albion. It's like we give them the coupons, but they're not using them. And so we had a very creative thinking market master, who is basically a farmer's market provider, who decided, well, should bring the market to where we're handing out the coupons. Brilliant. And then she followed us around the rest of the county. And it worked so much better in our redemption rate because they would get their coupons, walk outside, and there's a farmer's market. It's just brilliant. So just goes to the creative thinking that goes on here in Albion. The one thing that's not identified specific here to Albion in the plan, but I want to point out to you, is we have been working with the DART, with the Albion to Marshall connector, and we're still trying to support that effort and would very much like to see that continue because it's a very important program. We have senior transportation, but sometimes it's not the right thing. It doesn't get them there at the time they need. It may not be the right mode of transportation, so working with DART is very important. So in terms of our plan for Albion, one is providing as much support as possible as we can to the Forks Senior Center. That's monetary, that's time, energy, all of that. And that's going to be much easier with Luann in place. I keep saying I'm still suffering from a little bit of depression and withdrawal because Luann was sort of my right-hand person, so I've been lost for about 2 months now. I'm just lucky I got here tonight. But that's going to play out very well for her in this community as she works in the community. Our other focal points are Calhoun County Office of Senior Services, a Cool Family Community Center, which is where my office is located, and then Berry County Commission on Aging. And so with that, I don't want to take up all our time, which I probably already took too much, but one of the things I would like is just some feedback from you as you think about older adults in the community, if you think about agencies and services, and how we might be able to be more effective, and what things you think we're doing well, and maybe what things you're not sure if we're doing as well as we could. So if you have any questions or feedback, I'd love to hear that. So.
I'm sorry.
I
Go ahead, Garrett.
I have one question on
Sure.
16.
Yeah.
The Dementia Ready Community Initiative, what is that?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked about that. So dementia-capable or dementia-ready communities is an initiative that exists nationwide in some small pockets. And it's basically identifying with the fact that as communities, we are very much not ready for the epidemic that is dementia. Even in many cases, we can't even count how many people it impacts. The challenges are different. You can't take just a regular program and throw it in for a home that has somebody with dementia. It takes some unique understanding and knowledge. And so dementia-capable communities, actually, many of them start with local city commissions and other elected officials to say, how can we make our community more ready, more friendly? And that can include something as simple as having downtown business people who have had some training, so when they have a person who wanders into their store or perhaps does something inappropriate in their store, something's not right, they have some knowledge about how to interact with that person. It's working with law enforcement because trying to de-escalate a person with dementia is very important. Something as simple, and we talked about this last week at a meeting, something as simple as a touch on the arm could end up with we've had it end up in a full-blown situation with an assault on an officer. Different things like that. It can include city planning in terms of how do you deal with someone who can't write the check out to pay their taxes anymore, so they're too embarrassed to tell you that, which is why they're not paying their taxes. It's a lot of things. And so we want to do a needs assessment related to that so we can figure out the numbers. Then we want to talk to local communities and say, what can we do as a community to be more ready? What services do we currently have and what services do we need? One of the things we know is we need more adult daycare that doesn't require a 45-minute bus ride. And so how do we structure that? different things like that. But it's really bubbles up from the community, and it could look different in Albion than it does in Berry County. And it could look very different here than it does in, say, Minneapolis, where a lot of older adults ride subways, different things like that. So that's what it is. It's a community planning process. So.
We just got a survey passed out to us tonight, the Albion Comprehensive Plan for 2016. I don't see anything on there for aging people. So maybe that was something we need to add to that.
That
on our
is one of the
comprehensive
challenges
plan,
that
so-
we have. Yep, and it's one of the reasons I try to come talk to you about it.
Cheryl?
We had a meeting last week, one night, about community housing, and to be real honest with you, when they gave the statistics out, and they said that 60% of our community is over the age of 60, I was shocked. I knew that we had an aging population, but I
Yes.
had no clue it was that large.
Yeah, that number sounds a bit high, but it would be interesting to look at that. We do know that Albion is older than our other areas that we serve, has a higher percentage. They also have a higher percentage of minority older adults and older adults living in poverty, particularly within the city of Albion. So, yeah, those type of statistics should make us think about systems and processes and things like that. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Reese?
I heard you state that you didn't really want to talk about elder abuse prevention.
No, I want to talk about that.
Okay, well,
I talk about that a lot.
okay, well, my concern is the predatory lenders. I was at my own aunt house, and she's 90 years old. The lady came in to sell a vacuum cleaner and wanted her to sign
Over her house.
for $2,000, and I was telling her, look, you know, we're not agents, we don't have the authority to do it. And she was still trying to convince my aunt while I was standing there.
Yeah.
Is that a family problem and not a area?
Oh, heavens, no. It should be a community problem. It should be something we're addressing as a community. We have done a lot of work around elder abuse prevention, but a lot of it is those type of situations. And so one of the ways that we need to address that is make sure we're getting information to older adults' hands. We've developed a form that really doesn't do anything more than create a little bit of a barrier between whoever is trying to sell them something and the person. It's a form basically for, this is the time of year that we get traveling contractors, and it basically says, oh, I'd love to do business with you if you'll fill out this form and send it in. It's sent to the prosecutor's office. In the 10 years that we've had this form, we've never received one in the prosecutor's office. So we need to develop those type of strategies. The other is referrals, is family members coming alongside and saying, you know what, we're going to think about this, you need to just leave now. There's some issues with that. One, many of our older adults are lonely. Many times they lack some vision, so they may not realize everything that they're signing. So education, prevention. I will bring the elder abuse conversation to any group you want to stick in a room. Luann was, well, in fact, Luann was also my elder abuse prevention specialist, and she's very knowledgeable in that area. We'll talk to any senior on the phone, and that's what I tell them. If you want to know if something is not quite right, if it smells like fish, it might be fish, you have them call us, and we'll walk through. We'll say, you know, that we've heard of these other type of scams, or, you know, that type of thing, and we'll look at their paperwork for them. We'll do that for them, because it is something that's happening. Scams, right now, I can tell you the two most common, IRS scam. They call and say they're the IRS. We need to keep telling our older adults, the IRS will never call you on the phone, ever. The other one is still prevalent, is the bench warrant or the grandparent scam. You know, hey grandma, it's me, your grandson. Oh, Johnny? And then it goes off from there. It's very prevalent. So we're more than happy to do presentations. We're more than happy to provide resources to anybody who'll take it. We have a great booklet called The Sitting Duck. It's got a cute little picture of a duck on it. Can't keep them on the shelves. It has a lot of information about exploitation and how to avoid it, and I'd be happy to send some of those down so you can distribute them in the community. So.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Great. Anything else for Carl? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On aging? If it's a question for Carla, yeah. No, I'm not ready for citizens' comments.
Jay Loomis, 408 West Dash. I only have one question for Ms. Fales. What's your definition of older?
Well,
You?
No, it's not.
Generally, 60 and older for area agency and aging funded programs. We do have some programs in the community that's 55 and older. For elder abuse, we tend to take a broader definition of a vulnerable adult because vulnerability could be defined by something other than age. So.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on. Citizens' comments. Persons addressing the city council shall limit their comments to agenda items only and to no more than 5 minutes. Are there any citizens' comments on the agenda this evening? On the agenda. Okay. Is it about something on the agenda? Okay. This is about the agenda itself. Okay, thank you. Consent calendar. We'll do both at once. Approval of council meeting minutes from June 20th and approval of study session minutes from June 27th.
So moved.
Moved and supported. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed the same. Good. Items for individual discussion or request for the approval of the RFP to single trash haulers.
Did
What?
I get an revised agenda? The painting the city purple, is that no longer on the agenda?
I'm sorry. Did I skip something or have I got the wrong agenda?
A is.
Oh, I got it backwards, I'm sorry. I apologize.
A is request approval of the RFP for single trash haulers.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Questions? Cheryl?
Something we just addressed. I'm concerned, and I've voiced this concern before, it doesn't address anything about handicap services, and it doesn't address anything about services to seniors, because they have a tremendously difficult time, some of them getting their garbage out.
Okay.
And I think that it needs to be addressed in here somewhere, that this would be, you know, that this is an available service.
Okay. Handicap and senior.
Would that be able, would we be able to bring that up at the, I guess the pre-bid conference? Could that be, because that's a good point, because I know in Battle Creek there is like a, it might be an additional fee, but for seniors to have, they actually go get it for you. So is that possible? Do we need to amend it now, or could that just be discussed at the conference?
I would suggest having it up front so that all of the respondents are aware that that's an anticipated service that we're asking for.
Okay.
So we need to add those changes to what your RFP is as of now. Okay? And, oh, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna let the council know that along with the RFP, and I've already told Manager Mitchell about this, the way that our current trash haul, or I should say refuse hauling ordinance reads, on your next agenda, you're gonna have an ordinance to amend our current ordinance. The reason I'm recommending it is because the way our current one reads is it basically says anybody that applies for a trash hauling license and meets the criteria shall be given a license. So if we're gonna do a single hauler, we need to modify that language so that we can allow for just a single hauler as it relates to residential. You can continue to license people for commercial and industrial, but if you're gonna do an RFP for a single hauler, we need to change that. So I've actually already submitted it to the manager, so just FYI, that's.
So we need to probably table this and
That's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah,
until that comes through.
You can do this because my understanding.
Well, it's all, they already have to go back for changes anyway about the handicap and
right.
that. To find that information out. Yes.
If we table it, would we be able to do it by the next, I guess, the next meeting?
Right, and
I'm okay with doing it tonight, I just didn't, you know,
Well, I mean, we can go through and deny it and then start
Well,
holding.
there are other questions. Maybe what we could do is we can discuss it, then table it. This is the first time I've seen this, right? So I wanted to be able to clarify, ask some clarifying questions, and then we can take those edits back and have it ready for us with the addition of the handicap accessibility issue.
Correct.
and the ordinance thing in time for the 20th,
Yeah.
which is our next meeting.
Well, that's why I say we can go ahead and just, you know, yeah.
Oh, that's June, I'm sorry. That's right, it's Tuesday, not Monday. So the 18th. Sorry, the 18th.
So, like I said, we can change it that way, or we can turn this one down with the revisions coming.
Right, I just want the opportunity to ask my questions, because they also require some language changes.
Right.
Rather than to sort of table it now and then,
Okay.
is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
I don't think it ought to be approved with changes that
Right,
need to come.
right.
And with what he needs to
Right.
do. So,
I get that.
that's the only way we could do that is either take, or go ahead and take a vote and say no, and come back with the
Right.
changes.
Right.
So,
I just
then
want,
that way we should have everything. So if there's any changes that need to be done tonight, need to be said, so those changes can be addressed.
Okay.
right.
Correct? So Cheryl had 2. And you have,
I just have a couple of questions. So, so in the very first paragraph, we're defining, what we're asking to be held under this contract, and, excluding apartment buildings. And so do we have a definition of what that is? Is any house that's been converted into apartments more than 2 considered an apartment building? Or is it a particular architectural style that looks like an apartment building is not a converted house?
okay, that sounds like a good question for our
Because we
city
got an awful lot
attorney.
of, yeah, right? So that's.
Right, because you
so
do
that's the
have
question.
single houses that have been
Right,
converted
been
into
converted to 3 and
apartments,
4
and you wouldn't know
apartments,
that, so.
Right, so that's question 1. Second question, if I can continue, we're beginning this April of 2017, and my question is, why are we beginning in April and not, say, January?
Yeah, I don't. Are our contracts with them from April? Is that what we normally do?
As far as I understand it, and I think Jill can probably confirm or deny this, but current contracts in place are good till April 1st of 17, correct?
Okay.
That's why I
Current
use the April
contracts
1st
with
date.
respect to what?
I'm sorry?
Our
Current
contract.
contracts with respect to what?
The local haulers currently licensed.
Oh, I see, okay, okay.
So it would run from April to April.
Right, I was just trying to, okay. That makes sense, thanks.
Okay.
Second page, bottom, we're, number 3, A3. So it suggests that the bid will, include, city-operated buildings are not gonna be charged the city. So the city will not be paying for its garbage, refuse. Collecting, hauling, disposal of solid waste, rubbish, and building materials and garbage of all city-operated buildings from approved dumpsters can occur independently of the residential refuse pickup schedule and shall be at no cost to the city. So in fact, the citizens who are paying for garbage are subsidizing the city's refuse bill. Correct?
That is how that reads.
Is that what we want?
Well, they wouldn't pick ours up anyway because they're dumpsters, because we're not residential. So we should fall under the commercial. Am I correct?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. It says that,
Right.
in fact, that you're in
I'm
fact
not-
going to be.
I don't think that wording's correct because it almost sounds like a bribe to me.
Right, well, that's, right, so that's why I
You
was
know, you
concerned.
pick mine up for free, I'll see that you get the contract.
Right.
I don't care
So if
too
we
much for that
can,
wording.
can we just work on that paragraph?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think to at least answer one of your questions, I mean, our current ordinance defines, residential basically as any, what I would call, single-family dwelling. So, and I think that would include obviously the RFP says single-family or duplex residential units. So the way that I would interpret apartment buildings, multifamily complexes is if you're talking about any building that, other than a duplex, that encompasses more than one residence, more than one single-family residence.
Okay.
Clear as mud.
No, I'm just trying to think of, you
It'd be
know,
like having two apartments. You're not considered as residential, am I correct? Unless they're two separate bills.
The way, I mean, that's the way our ordinance reads right now, is that
Right.
residential is single-family
okay.
residence, or, sorry, single-family dwelling, single-family unit.
Okay. So that means that if I own a house that I've converted into 3 apartments that are occupied separately, they pay separate gas and water, or gas and electric bills.
That would
Then-
not fall under RFP.
That would not fall under the RFP, and then the landowner, the landlord for that apartment would then have to be responsible. Would it be then called commercial, or just,
Yes.
it wouldn't matter?
You would think it would be.
Okay, okay, thanks. That's great.
So I take it Colin will clear that up with the other
No, I think as long as it's in the
Right,
ordinance,
in-
or in the, our code.
RFP that way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, another question on the third page, I think, yeah, third page, letter D. Is that sort of boilerplate? It's about holidays and collection days and when you shift?
Yes.
What I worry about is that, that someone changes the hauler date because of illness or something at the contracts, you know, the refuse company. Do they then want to change the day? Do they have to get council approval to do that? Right, so that's, my concern is this, is that, you know, we're gonna have a company that has 3 or 4 garbage trucks that are gonna go through town over 3 days and collect all the garbage, right? So maybe someone gets sick at noon and they're gonna pick it up the next day and not the day of. Do they have to wait another week to get, or 2 weeks to get council approval to change the day of the pickup? Or are you talking about, like, we're gonna stop picking up on Tuesday and we're gonna only pick up on Wednesday and Thursday?
Are you talking about one sick individual?
What?
You're talking about one person being ill?
Or multiple people being ill, there was some other event. What I want is, I want to eliminate the council involvement in making decisions about when garbage is picked up. That's what I would like to see. I mean, I think the contract is, we're contracting with the city, and that the city is gonna handle this contract, and we as a council do not need to approve
Right.
changes to when garbage gets picked up. That's a level of management that I'm not interested in participating in.
If I remember correctly, I think there's like a 3-day window, right? It's like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when they can do that. So it's, you know.
I understand that. The successful bidder may not change the collection day except when there is a legal holiday without the approval of city council.
Oh, okay,
That's the part I object to.
okay.
So you want that to be the city manager?
Yeah,
Makes more sense.
if the city council
Yeah, because if
approves
they
the
had a
change in the collection.
breakdown or something, and they need to pick it up the
Right.
next day. But normally, I don't know if they all do it or not, but we usually get called, you know, that there's a holiday, will be a day.
Oh, right, no, I get
You
that.
know.
I just don't want the city council to be managing a contract. We don't manage any of the other contracts that we.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, because that way it wouldn't slow the process down.
Right. Joe, I'll take a break while Cheryl asks a question. I'm sorry.
Okay. Is there anything else?
Cheryl's got her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. On number 4, under A, it's about billing. I have how are they going to, since we have an ordinance that says that you have to have your trash picked up, and we're going to this, how are they going to communicate to us when they've decided somebody hasn't paid their bill and they're gonna cut off their trash pickup? How is that? There's gonna have to be some kind of an internal, because we have problems with that right now. And I'm concerned that although we may have the rule is broken quite frequently already.
The way I thought we did discuss this before, the city's gonna pay this, am I correct? And we'll take the reimbursement from,
I thought that's how we had agreed.
yeah, and then what the people that don't pay will go on their taxes. I mean, basically the same as what we were doing for water billing? Isn't that what we
So
discussed?
what will have to happen,
I thought we weren't getting into the billing of it.
And
I thought we
then,
were going to get to a hauler that was gonna bill for themselves, so that we didn't have to get involved with the billing.
I remember discussing
Yeah.
the billing part of it. I guess I didn't realize how the end came out.
sorry, Joe, I don't mean to cut you off. I recall the idea would be is that they would handle the billing, but that they would then report to the city manager those that had not paid. We would still be paying it. And then we would bill those people that hadn't paid.
I think the options, well, if I remember correctly, the two options were either we actually ran the billing and collection in-house, or we had them do it. And then I guess the added issue is what the mayor was just talking about in terms of, you know, when they don't pay, if someone doesn't pay, how do we handle that?
Right.
So I think this is saying they'll handle the administration of it, but the open question is whether, like, are they gonna go like do a collection thing to get it from them, or do we have to get it from them?
Right.
So I guess I need a little clearer direction,
Sure.
because there's several options before you in terms of the billing. The vendor can bill directly, and then they can notify us should there be a delinquency, or in which case it is more expensive because they're, taking on that administrative cost. Or the city can do the billing, and we can either do it as part of the water bill, as part of property tax bills, or as part of a monthly or quarterly billing system, in which case we have to also determine how are we going to cover those administrative costs. I don't think our staff can do that currently. But that does need to be determined, or we can just ask as they're responding to the RFP, what are they proposing in terms of the cost under any of these scenarios?
Maurice?
We had never finalized anything concerning the billing. We had a work session, and we stated we would prefer to stay out of the billing business.
Right.
We had preferred that whoever did it, we're in the mayor's office, and we said we liked the hauler to do the billing themselves. Because some council people said we didn't want it to go out with the water bills because it would add manpower. And we never finalized our decision.
Right. Well,
We were gonna come back and discuss it some more.
I think it's probably only proper that they do their own billing.
Okay.
Keep it off of us. We keep it as light as we can off of us, so that, our people aren't burdened with, an extra stage of something that doesn't need to be. I think the bills are already there. Everybody gets them. The only decision we have to make is, Cheryl will make if there's a problem with picking it up on that day or whatever. I think that would be the cost barrier. I'm sure they have tons more people than we do to take care of that, and I think it would probably in the long run be better for for them to handle it. Yes, Garrett?
So I know the manager and Mr. Leonardson, I guess consultant referred to as other systems that other municipalities have for doing this, but do you happen to know if they require the hauler to collect if someone's not paying, or does the city do that? Do we know?
I don't know on the collection part.
Okay.
That's where it gets really sticky.
Well, I guess I look at this, if they're doing the billing, they would know who has and who hasn't, so I would leave that up to them as well. We shouldn't have to establish, grounds for that, so. But you can find that out.
So you would say, is there a consensus about potentially they administer the program and they collect their own delinquent payments?
I would.
That's what I would do.
Okay, I agree.
Okay. Any more changes or additions or?
I do have one other question, because
Okay.
Colin's mentioned that. Do we have a sense of how many units are, I guess technically apartments in the city?
Yeah, so that was the last question I had, which was related to F3F describes them doing the assessment. Do we have any idea?
I would certainly think we would have all that on record, but
I think we have some broad numbers, the total number of residential units and I guess apartment dwellings. I don't think we have apartment dwellings necessarily. We may have multiple unit dwellings.
We do have single and duplex
Right.
numbers.
Yes.
And do we have addresses for all those?
I would assume so as part of property tax.
Right.
Okay.
I would think the hauler might, depending on who it is, would know that too, because they're the ones that are putting the trash cans out there for people, so,
Right.
you know.
I have one question. So from a policy standpoint, what would be the argument against including apartment buildings in the system?
Go ahead.
My guess is that residential will not be using dumpsters.
Okay.
And so the kind of truck you would use to empty it would not require dumpsters, a dumpster lifter.
So now one, there's a follow-up question, are there apartments where there's like, if you have 3 units in there, each unit might have its own? Are you aware of any?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
So within the city, let's say someone has a house and they've converted it into 3 like apartment buildings or apartment units. Do we know if people are using dumpsters, or are they doing like, okay, this is your receptacle, there's like 3 receptacles?
Right, I don't have a clue what's out there in the public myself.
Oh,
I don't have the answer.
yes, Colin.
I was gonna say, we also have an ordinance that, as part of our definition of a residential premises, limits the amount of refuse coming from the residential premise. Oh, I wanna say it's like 90 gallons, something to that effect.
Well, I would almost dare to say anybody that doesn't have a trash receptacle, if anything bigger than that, is commercial. Because I think the biggest tub you can get is what, 90 gallon?
9096.
Yeah. Anything else is a dumpster.
Well, I guess again, I'd have to fall back on Cullen for that answer as far as what our local ordinance
Right.
designates.
It says anything more than 90 gallons a week. But 90 gallons a week is residential, so I'd say anything beyond that, you're no longer residential.
Okay. That pretty well sums that up, so.
Mayor and council, would there be any interest in having a study session before the next meeting? Just in case you want to have an in-depth conversation
Oh, I hope.
before we do the final approval, or
I think,
you think you're good?
as long as it's in the packet and, just Kelly John was in the packet this week. But
I think,
I don't think we need one. I think
Okay.
everything that Councilmember Kraus and Mayor Pro Tem French said, I agree with. So,
Just put it back into the RFP, right?
yeah.
Okay, yes, Maurice?
It sounds like we need clarity. We may need to meet for an hour or so to dot our i's and cross our t's, because there's not any continuity right now that I'm seeing, because there's so
I
many
think the
questions.
questions were asked, and I think they're legitimate questions.
I'll agree.
This has not been out to anybody, or you haven't made reference to anybody to help clarify what they're gonna do or what we're asking for?
No, not at all.
Okay. Andy?
just in summary, I think in terms of the last bit of questioning or comments about the numbers of, that's available. I don't see that's gonna be hard if we can access, if those refuse haulers can access our tax records, our water bill records, and what have you. I don't think that's an issue. So I don't think that needs to go into the RFPs per se.
No.
Unless you wanted to add language that we would share addresses of residences for whoever is the hauler. And then all the other things are sort of relatively straightforward sort of considerations. So I think that, I don't think, in my opinion, we would need to have a separate study session to do that. I think we can
you know, we'll have, in a couple of weeks, we'll have a draft of something else, and we'll be able to, and if we get them, you know, on Wednesday, and people wanna have comments and meet with Cheryl, with Jim, before the council meeting, to let that happen, so if tweaks can happen, a tweak can happen, and, without having to meet for another hour.
Right, and we might find that we have some more questions after you send the RFP out.
I would-
They might look at that and say, well, wait a minute, I don't think you really wanna do this or that.
Right.
You know,
I would offer as a time-saving mechanism to go ahead and put another RFP together, email it to all the council members and the mayor to give you that much extra time prior to the
Right.
next meeting to take a look at it. If you have additional comments or questions, feel free to contact me.
Maurice?
Have we reached out to any haulers for several, 2 or 3, for any information on how they have handled these questions that we've had before? Do we have any cities that, in the area, who may have single haulers, and we've gotten some information?
Yes,
with
for
them?
both.
I think we
Met
did,
with
yeah.
all of the haulers, individually, as well as talked with some other communities in regards to how they approach the, single hauler, and including having their RFP.
Pertaining to these questions we've had today. So it sounds like, to me, when we come back, even after we send in our different inquiries, when we get to the next meeting, we may be back where we are again, but I just want to put that on record. Thanks, I can move forward.
Okay. Garrett?
And I just wanted to thank Jim and Cheryl for doing this, for, you know, working on it and getting it done. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have to do any action on that?
I move that we table this approval until the next council meeting.
Support, yeah.
Second? Moved and supported?
I think it's voids, or just that happens, right?
Yeah.
One,
Oh, you have to vote.
You have to vote.
You have to vote.
do we? Okay.
Yes, yes, you do.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
and Mayor Domingo.
Yes. Okay. B, discussion on request approval to paint the town purple, Relay for Life.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported, and I think Carol is gonna give us a little,
A lot of you may not be aware, I'm a real strong supporter for Relay for Life with the Calhoun County East. We have an upcoming relay. It's the 29th and 30th of July. It's a 24-hour walk. Starts at 3 o'clock on the 29th in the afternoon and ends at 3 o'clock on Saturday, the 30th. What we are wanting to do is to paint this town purple by placing ribbons at businesses. Also, we'd like to do the trees downtown and the lamp post, not only just downtown, but we'd like to hit Eaton Street also. I have become more and more aware there are a lot of people who don't have a clue what Relay for Life is all about. And right now we have 37 teams registered, and we all do money makers to raise money for cancer research. So that's what we'd like to do.
okay, go ahead, Maurice.
Could you consider doing Austin Ave down toward State Street? Just think about it. That's
Well,
business.
I'll tell you, right now, it's my team, it's called the Rockin' Mamas. We're the ones that are initiating this. If I can get some other teams to help us, we'd like to do this. We'd like to place the ribbons on the 22nd of July and have them the whole week, and we'd probably take them down on the 30th or the 31st. We're pretty whipped out after walking 24 hours.
If you can get the ribbons to me, I'll do from Eaton and Austin.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I'll talk to you and see how many you'd need. That'd be great.
Just make sure that they don't get put on any of MDOT's signs or anything. They have to be the cities.
Okay,
So the trees would be fine, the street lights are ours, those are fine. Everything else is pretty questionable. So
We are going
those
to put
are
an
fine.
article in the paper defining what we're doing and what it's for, and I would invite all council people to come and check out Relay and see what it's all about.
Okay, Andy?
For local streets, does MDOT forbid putting ribbons on like no parking signs and those things?
No, not on locals, those are
Local,
ours.
We got it, just the
Correct,
major.
those are ours. They're just on the highways, they
Austin-
get,
So Austin, Eaton, Michigan, Superior, and
Yeah.
a few others.
those would be any place that MDOT might have a sign,
Right,
so,
okay.
okay?
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Carol. Okay. Okay, so, roll call vote for Paint the Town Purple.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
and Mayor Domingo.
Yes, thank you. The discussion to update Holland Park, Lynn is absent this evening, so we'll put that on the next agenda. Request approval for resolution 2016-40 to approve the vacating of alleys in block 52.
So move.
Support.
Moved and supported. Are there any further questions? If not, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Kraus,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
and Mayor Domingo.
Yes, thank you. E, request approval resolution 2016-42. Award the bid for 2016 local street improvement project.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Questions? I have two questions. What parking lot is the college talking about?
Well, at the present time, Mayor, the college has decided not to go in with us for any projects. So it's a moot point.
Yeah.
Receive notice.
Okay, so in the letter that I read, drop the bids from the college and things like that then? This is all strictly for Fitch Street?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct. The college has opted out of the Cass Street project, as well as their athletic complex. We piggybacked with them thinking we could maybe get a better price by bulk, and they've opted out at this point, so we're just
Okay.
looking at Fitch Street and Sheridan Court.
okay. All right. Are you doing any water main work, or are you waiting to see what it looks like, or are we just milling and filling? And some sidewalk and curb?
The latter, filling, sidewalk, curb and
Okay.
gutter.
Okay. Okay, any further questions? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember French,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
and Mayor Domingo.
Yes. Future agenda items?
Aside from the bid, RFP.
Okay. Why do they have to remind me? City managers report, please.
Thank you. Mayor and council, as you are probably already aware, the planning commission held the site plan review and the special use permit relative to the Albion Hotel last week. There were some conditions placed on their approval, including getting the consolidation of the alleyways and some other items, including details for the lights, as well as approval from the county for the stormwater and runoff report. There were some questions relative to the parking, and we are still looking citywide, especially in the downtown area, as to what is our overall plan and vision in terms of how we want to address that. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention as well. One of their requests was to have the overnight parking available to them. There was not a response in regards to that at the present time, but you can anticipate that that may be a request in the future. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Also, you have before you a survey for our community survey, which is a component part of our comprehensive planning process. And we have hard copies on that, as well as it's available online through our partnership with the Albion Community Foundation. They made the Survey Monkey available to us, and people can reach that at www.surveymonkey.com/r/Albion Plan 2016. We will be distributing those, as well as making the site available online through our website and through other means of communication. And I'm very excited, there's a lot of great things going on. One, Michigan State Extension is going to have about 20 planners coming to Albion. They had a choice of any site in the state, and they chose Albion because we're rocking. And they'll take a tour of the city, as well as then they'll come together and offer some suggestions on some of the best practices or what are their perspectives on innovations that we could be trying to apply here locally. So we're really excited to be welcoming them. That'll be on July 15th. And we also received some good news in regards to Holland Park. Holland Park received a $90,000 grant from the Kalamazoo Community River Foundation as part of the Enbridge funding. So that will fund for the basketball court resurfacing, the new handicap accessible restroom, as well as some of the river cleanup that we'll be doing in that area. So we're really excited about that, and that actual agreement will be on your next agenda. We received word that through the major support from Senator Knopf and Representative Bison, that we are eligible, I'll say, for $900,000 from the state of Michigan for water system improvements. So we're really looking forward to seeing that language. It's very general in terms, but it's. Would they include water tower? I'm sorry, what? Water tower. Water tower. Well, that's definitely on our capital improvement list, but we have to see the exact language on how it's worded in terms of which one of our projects is really the most eligible and how we can go about that. There's generally a cost-sharing component to it,
Is it a budget thing, or is it like a grant?
I don't have, I mean, literally it's one sentence in their General Appropriations Act, so I just know the dollar amount, and I don't see any way I would turn it down, no matter what it's for. So, yeah, so we're really excited about that. And in case you have not heard, Sandy McGeorge, the Human Resources Coordinator and Assistant to the City Manager, has announced that she will be retiring at the end of this month. She's on leave at the present time, so she'll come back from leave and be here on July 25th and retiring on July 29th. So I will be looking for a short-term solution as well as a longer-term plan, which may require some reorganization, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that will be coming forward probably sooner than later. And I think that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Oh, no, it doesn't. On July 23rd, we have our community cleanup, and that includes the paint recycling as well as the electronics and cleaning up of the community. So in conversations with several people, we were thinking that we can actually try to publicize. This is an opportunity for individuals and groups and churches to actually adopt a block or adopt a house within their area and aid in people who aren't able to do it, or just places that have been derelict in doing what they should be as a good neighbor, and to take on these projects. This is an opportune time for everyone to just pitch in the beautification of Albion, so we want to encourage that.
That it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Joe. With regard to that, if a group is looking to do that, do they call City Hall? Who do they call?
They can call my office. We can help. We won't necessarily be helping, but at least if we know where the areas are so that people aren't stepping over each other, and so it's more coordinated. Right. So it's really a do-it-yourself this year, and then next year we'll try to plan for a major event so it's more coordinated, but at least getting it kicked off this year.
Yeah, I was just thinking if there are college students who are working first or taking classes that they want to go help in the community, they can contact you or get assigned some area to go walk around.
Right.
Okay.
We're not at any shortage for identified sites.
Right. No, I understand.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sharon?
Are we on future agenda items now? Or not yet?
What's that?
Are we on future agenda items or not yet?
Yeah, is Cheryl's done?
I'm done.
Okay, yeah, future agenda.
I was visiting a friend on Linden Avenue the other day, And I really think we're gonna have to eventually really look seriously at Linden Avenue, along the rail there, where the street decking is, and then the rail, you can actually see down into the river. Sure, and plus, we know that it's undercutting there, and the river is undercutting, it's gonna be a huge mess, and it's gonna be very expensive, but it is definitely something we're gonna have to look at. I couldn't believe it when you could see the river. But in addition to that, if we could do some patching over there too, because there's the potholes on Linden Ave are horrible. So, and I live on a street where they're horrible, so, but if we could just look at that, I think it's something we're gonna have to address in the next few years. Thank you.
Yes.
I will share with you, I've had a number of conversations with residents of Linden. They are going to be completing a petition drive. They will be coming to council probably at the next meeting to talk about the problems that are there with Linden. But in response, I remember vaguely at some point us having a conversation with Greg Strand about the possibility of closing the mill race and filling it in and therefore stabilizing that road. So I don't know if that's that's an ME, that's a not MEDC but DNR issue. And I don't know if there are resources available. I know that there's resources for dam closings.
Right.
And so the mill race is in effect a dam. It's a redirection, but it's a dam down by the canoe livery at the college. So
If it's, I don't know if it would fit their criteria of what dam is. I think
Right.
a dam out in Victory Park might be.
right,
And that's the one they've been on us for the last 20 years.
right.
That's the one they've been on us for the last 20 years, and we haven't done anything yet, so,
Like I
that's
said,
a
I'm
substantial
getting worried.
amount, you know, to repair that, and now their big push is to take dams out.
Right, and the mill race is just a rediversion, but it's
That's all.
But the mill race is it's pretty much a disaster, pretty much the whole length of it. There's
Well,
a few
sure.
spaces that are not, you know, so.
But that's a whole nother world.
Right, but I think that, you know, there's some immediate needs that we can address. We can get a patch truck out there, or people just to go look at the potholes and fill them in at the very least. Or I know that Mike Bierman had suggested that the county patch machines might be able to be brought to bear at some cost, but
Reese?
I like to have street sweeping on the agenda. 2nd Street, around the curve to Kennedy, down the Coop. There's definitely weeds growing out of the curbside.
Street sweeper won't pull them out.
Okay, yeah, we still want to follow up, please. There's a lot of literally trash that is abutted to the curb. It could be a wind problem when the dumpsters are trying to dump from the housing complex. So I don't know if I should approach the housing commission or our street sweeper. It is literally lined with trash. I want to discuss it when we get that street sweeper down there to do what it can do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Garrett?
So are we gonna would we be approving hotel stuff at the next meeting?
no, I think we're done.
Okay. So that doesn't come back from the planning commission?
I don't think there's any items that would come
Okay.
to the
Okay.
council.
Well, I guess my request would be, because, you know, there was a question raised there about the window for when the city might potentially receive, I guess, you know, taxes from that. If it's possible, could we get like a memo or an explanation on, I guess some clarity about that?
We approved an MEDC, is that the tax that you're talking about? We approved an MEDC for $1.2 million, as I recall. So you're looking for whether it's 10 or 15 or something.
Yeah, because one of the business owners raised that question, and there was a little bit of confusion about whether or not there was an abatement, and whether it was, you know, what it fell under, so just to have some more clarity about that.
So are you looking for what was identified in the brownfield plan or something?
Or just basically,
What's the hotel getting that they're not getting?
huh?
Is there
Huh? No, well,
some abatement?
Right.
yeah, I want a better sense of just, when that's actually gonna be taxable, so.
Okay, so an explanation. Okay.
Okay, do we want the RFP on there?
Yeah, we better have the RFP on
Okay.
there.
And I'd like Holland Park put on there for,
Yeah,
in
Holland
case
Park.
Lynn needs to discuss something that we missed tonight.
You don't suppose that the $90,000 grant was what Lynn wanted to talk? We just spoiled her thunder.
Well, I misheard her when she told me. I thought she said 9,000.
I thought you said 900.
90,000.
There's 90,000 for Highland Park and 900,000 for the water system.
Okay, cool.
999.
It's amazing how they can find money for things like that and we can't get our roads fixed. You gotta love
I know, right?
Okay. All right, so that's that. Motion to,
Mayor?
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry, I forgot one item.
doesn't surprise me.
Okay. If Chief Scott Kipp could come forward, I asked him to just talk about fireworks because we had a number of complaints and just explain what our current situation is.
Kinda late now, it's over.
Well, they still actually have tonight because it's the day of, the day before, and the day
Right.
after, so. But, I mean, we had about 12 complaints, I think, called into dispatch that the officers responded to. The biggest problem with those is if the officer can't identify who actually set the firework off, there's not a whole lot that we can do. It used to be that fireworks were illegal to possess, which they're not illegal to possess, so even if you go up on a porch and there's a bunch of fireworks sitting there, there's nothing you can do about it. And if you can't ID who did it, and the neighbors don't want to file a complaint on it, there's not a lot you can do, so. My suggestion is contact your state legislature and let them know that you're not happy with the way the law is and ask them to rewrite the law, so.
Yes, Cheryl?
I did have a question about the fireworks though. I saw in the last couple days leading up to the 4th of July that a lot of, including Meridian Township, had outlawed the blowing off of those fireworks because of how dry it
Right.
was. Who makes that decision, Scott?
It's a combination of state fire marshal or myself.
Okay.
I mean, we could make that decision here, but at the same time, I have no way of stopping it from happening. So, I mean, more or less, we just feel complaints, and then it's, I mean, Cullen can answer the law side of it more, but.
What I was gonna say in the conversation that, actually, I had a meeting with the Meridian Fire Chief and the Delaware Fire Chief because we addressed this exact
Right.
issue up there. My understanding is the state fire marshal is fairly new, and so she was basically deferring to all the local fire chiefs, and basically the way that it's under the fire prevention code, the local fire marshal, who in our case would be Scott, has the authority to take, and it's very broadly written, any and all action to prevent possible threat of fire or whatever, which would include the banning of fireworks. But like Scott is saying, it's difficult to enforce.
Yes, Bruce?
I observed the fire at a Crow School by a tree. That fireworks?
I don't know what the cause of that was, yeah.
It was smoking up.
Right, yeah, there was a small fire there, but I don't know if it was fireworks or not.
Can the city limit the hours of?
I don't think,
We can limit it after 1 o'clock, I think is what the law allows us to do, but again, the enforcement part of that is the difficult part of it, so.
Because we're a municipality under 50,000 people, the statute only allows us to regulate it on 3 days between 1 a.m. and 8 a.m.
Yep.
wow.
Okay. Well,
Wow.
Thank you, Scott.
all right. If there is no more, motion to excuse absence council members.
They called, right?
Yes.
Second. Support.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Thank you. Citizens' comments. Person addressing the city council shall limit their comments to no more than 5 minutes. Proper decorum is required. If there's citizens' comments this evening, please step forward with your name and your address, please.
Dennis Michael, 1007 Maple Street in Albion. My main complaint is the code compliance officer.
Okay.
I made 4 phone calls to him within the last month and a half. Okay, so last Tuesday I went to Mrs. Mitchell's office and told her about the house at 1011 Maple Street. So I left her office, went to his office, and stood outside of his office and called him on my cell phone. So he knows my number. So he gets on the phone and acts like he's recording. So, and as last Tuesday, there's nothing been done about 1011 Maple Street. And I asked John Tracy about it. Yes, I've been there 3 times. I said, there's not a posting on the house, 1. Well, I haven't had time. If he's been there 3 times, he's had time to post it. I've had this trouble with him 13 years ago at 1009 Maple Street. And his thing was that I don't have time to drive around Albion to look at everybody's grass. He lived on Maple Street at the time. He drove by it every day to go to work. I seen him.
Which one's this one?
1011 Maple Street.
Is that the yellow house with the?
Yes.
Rumsey's old one? Rumsey old one?
Yes.
Yeah.
I noticed that the other day.
Very, God, I don't know, well, I'm just gonna say it. The house is for sale. There's a realtor sign in the front.
Right.
Why aren't there realtors responsible for letting those houses do that? To me, why would you wanna advertise something when you got weeds up to the eave draws? You know, and I mean, it looks like a disaster. Why can't the realtors company be responsible for removing snow and mowing grass and things like that? And put it back in the hands of,
There's people living in there. I mean, going in
There
and out
are?
at night. Yeah, there's homeless people going in and out at night.
Ah, didn't know that. Okay. I think Ms. Mitchell will probably address that and, get a hold of you, Dennis.
And he
let
says
you
he
know.
don't have time to check everybody's grass. It took me 47 minutes to drive every street in this town today.
You shouldn't have been speeding.
No.
Okay. Okay. I appreciate it very much. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name's Tim Allen, 1009 Maple Street. Couple of things. He's my neighbor, and I did bring you guys some pictures to see this atrocity that has occurred. Pass these around.
Thank you.
Also, I just moved back to help my mom take care of her. And I've been a resident of Albion, grew up in Albion, went to Albion High School, and coming back here after 26 years is an atrocity. This city, and even this city meeting, I've sat in this meeting for almost an hour, and it is a disgrace to have this decorum like it is. And we have to do something as citizens. I moved back for a purpose, but this is atrocious. The kind of conduct that I've seen as far as professionalism in this meeting is, need more citizens to be aware of what's going on with our city, because the comments back and forth and no organization, people coming, this is ridiculous. And as a former resident and now a resident of Albion now, because I'm taking care of my mom and was gone for 26 years, and to come back to see this, this is really bad. As far as organization, as far as what we need to do as a city to help the city grow and develop into something that people can be proud of again, we have to make some changes. And I'm willing to help. You know, you can put out, fires, but are you there to help put out the fire? I'm back here in the city. I will be involved in my city again. Very well educated. I'm hold a position in Lansing Public Schools Administrator. I have an MSW. I also have a LSMSW and also have an MA as an educational leadership. So I'm very well aware of what's going on in the city, and we need to take initiative to do something about it. And it starts here in the city and the city commission. And so I will be hopefully attending more meetings, but the present time, those pictures that I sent you, you wouldn't want to live next door. We live next door to that. And if the city, whoever the code compliance person is not doing their job, then they need to be done with, because this is unnecessary for this to happen. If it's a code compliance for grass to be mowed, it's not the realtor's situation, it's a city issue, because it's a city ordinance about what needs to go on as far as kept lawn and property. We know that. So it's not a realtor issue. I called the realtors last year when I moved in. She contacted the gentleman that owned the house. He lives in Australia, worked in Marshall. Came for about a week, had the little paint job done or whatever, then left because he knew he got way over his head. So we can call the realtor, I can do that again, but the bottom line is it's a city issue. It's a danger to your kids. I'm a licensed MSW, and I know that if kids come there, it's an endangerment, and this would be a city issue then. Because of ethics as far as kids could just walk in there. We have, you know, visitors, you know, critters all over the place out there, as you see in those pictures. You know, you wouldn't want to live next door to that. And if a code compliance person needs to stand up and do their job, you guys need to make him do their job tomorrow. Not next week, tomorrow. He's on the clock. He needs to take care of it immediately. That's all I have to say. Thank you. You can keep those pictures for evidence.
Okay. Thank you. Any other citizens' comments?
Mike Behrman, 11016 29 Mile Road, County Commissioner, 7th District. Like I told Bill Wheaton back a year and a half ago, I says, I will be here at least once a month to talk to you guys. I definitely tried to give you all the information I can from the county. Couple things, with the refuge pickup, I believe what they do is they charge $5 for seniors if they can't take it out themselves, as long as they get a hold of the company and they'll come out and bring it out for them and that sort of thing. Another thing you may want to consider is some of the seniors are eating all of their meals away from home, and they don't have any refuge whatsoever. So if you're going to go in and tax them for not using any, that would be something that would be very hard on them too. As far as, I did take the 12-mile challenge, anyone that was on Facebook with me. And I did walk from Albion to Marshall on the 30th, the last day of Albion Public Schools, and to try to break some of the barriers down between the two. I made it. It was difficult, but if an old man like me can do it, anybody can do it. So that's something up and running too. Thursday night, Calhoun County board is going to do a resolution honoring both the schools, boards, Albion and Marshall. So that's, if you get a chance to come over on Thursday night, that will take place over at the county building at about 7 o'clock. And I'm glad to see Carla here and everybody else, because the trash pickup, the trash that you have like for your electronics and chemical waste and that sort of thing, most of those are county programs. And so therefore, we are very much in line with the City of Albion, working with the City of Albion all the time. It's not just county road department, it's not just county this, but there's a lot of county departments that help out and work within the City of Albion, and we're trying to be as much a good neighbor as we possibly can and try to get everybody working together on the whole east side of the county. I have to commend Cheryl and them for the housing project, housing forum that they had out at Caring Community. It was absolutely great. And these, we've got to do more of these, but then we've got to take and find out how we can work with the townships and Homer and that, because they can't do a lot of the housing, we can. And we've got to be able to work together to be able to come up with good solutions all the way around for everybody, because we work better together. And I have to hand it to the college, that equestrian center is looking better and better every day. They're to the last wall and putting up the last 4 or 5 trusses, and it's really looking great. So thanks for everything that you're doing, and if there's anything else I can take back to them, I sure will, but let me know.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, we have an executive session to go to, and if there's no further from the audience, the council will move to the mayor's office. Hopefully somebody turn the air conditioner on.
Do we have the motion?